Assalamualaikum and good day. I bid to Madam Mazura Anwar, Madam Farhanatul Akmal Ahmad Kamal, and to any other audience members. Today, I am Muhammad Azizi bin Muhammad Noor, will be giving my oral presentation on my research study titled The Impact of Poetry on Vocabulary Enhancement Among University Students. This study was conducted throughout in 2025 as part of my final year project for my bachelor's degree. The purpose of this study was conducted as poetry seems can deliver an exceptional potential that could bring quality and color to the dimension of vocabulary learning. According to this study by Sibia in 2024, the written elements of language in poetry can attract the development of emotions and ideas. Besides, the literary texts that contained in the poetry could help students for a various benefit, which was mentioned by Farah and Al-Bakri in 2022 in their research. Furthermore, Marpong and Situmiang in 2020 also stated that utilizing the poetry could enhance English language proficiency that seems very vital as personal skills in aspect of profession and career. Then, the problem statements arise in this research where vocabulary and proficiency are the most required skills and knowledge to face a lot of obstacles in a real life scenario, whether in academic learning or working profession. Apart from that, the limitation of traditional method for learning became one of the problem statement for this study, as poetry could serve as another medium of learning and teaching for a long-term success. In this research, there are three objectives that have been listed. The first objective is to investigate the perception of university students towards poetry on vocabulary enhancement based on their gender, which is male and female, fields of study at University Technology Mara in Shah Alam, and their language proficiency level according to Mohd band scores. And the research questions follow in this research, which first question entails on does gender influence students' perceptions towards vocabulary enhancement in reading poetry? The second question is, do students from different fields of study have different perceptions toward vocabulary enhancement through poetry? And last question is, do students from different levels of proficiency of language have different perceptions toward vocabulary enhancement through poetry? Moving on, let's take a look at the literature review that use cognitive theory as the selected theoretical framework for this research. The theory was introduced by Jean Piaget in 1936 and used in the research as the study by Ahmad in 2020 mentioned that it has connection with the cognitive development and its impact, where cognition is defined as a mental process of gaining and understanding knowledge through various activities. In analyzing previous studies related to poetry, Siraga in 2022 emphasized that poetry was a powerful form of language that expressed deep meaning and emotion with more intensity than typical communication, which is highlighting its artistic and expressive nature. This was supported by Kila et al. In 2021 that explored how poetry's layered meanings, symbolism, and cultural references foster critical thinking and analytical skills, which are making it as a valuable tool in language learning. Furthermore, Quadri et al. In 2021 focused on the role of vocabulary in understanding poetry, which is noticing that comprehension relies heavily on learners' English vocabulary proficiency and their ability to interpret meaning through context clues and close reading strategies. These strategies collectively underscore poetry's significance in enhancing both emotional expression and language development. Next part is methodology, which is how the research was conducted. First and foremost, this research applied quantitative approach by utilizing questionnaire in a survey as the research design and instrument. For the sampling method, a random sampling method was used to collect the data and responses from the students, where the survey was randomly distributed via WhatsApp and email to them. In the data collection procedure, the research began by obtaining approval from the Research Ethics Committee to ensure all ethical guidelines were followed. After that, a set of questionnaire items was designed using Google Form to assess students' perceptions of poetry in vocabulary enhancement. The Google Form link was randomly distributed to the respondents through online platforms, which is WhatsApp and email. This method allows for wide and easy access, which is enabling students to respond at their own convenience. The responses were automatically collected and stored in the Google Form system, and it was making it easier to organize and prepare the data for analysis. Overall, this procedure ensures ethical compliance, efficient distribution, and effective data management. Once all responses were collected, the data was first assessed through Google Sheets and then transferred into IBM SPSS version 29.0 for analysis. The study focused on quantitative analysis where students' perceptions were examined using descriptive statistics, specifically the mean scores, in order to explore differences in perceptions. An independent samples t-test was used to analyze gender differences. Meanwhile, a one-way ANOVA was conducted to examine variations based on students' fields of study and their Mohd bands, which represented their level of language proficiency. And now let's take a look at the finding part. For the demographic analysis of the study in the pie chart, a total of 150 undergraduate students from University Technology Marayu ATM Shah Alam participated. In terms of gender distribution, 62 respondents were male while 88 were female, indicating a higher participation rate among female students. Regarding their fields of study, the majority came from the social sciences with 96 respondents representing faculties such as APB, Law, Azizi, and FSR. This was followed by 52 respondents from the science and technology field, which includes faculties like applied science and engineering. Only two respondents were from the business and administration field, including areas such as business and accounting. In terms of language proficiency based on their Mohd band scores, three respondents were within the 1.002 to 2.49 range, and 46 respondents scored between 2.50 and 3.99, and the majority of respondents of 101 respondents were in the 4.00 to 5.49 range. This distribution suggests that most participants or respondents have moderate to high English proficiency, which is relevant to the study's focus on language and poetry comprehension. For the second findings, perception based on gender differences. The analysis revealed that both male and female students generally had positive perceptions toward the use of poetry for vocabulary enhancement. While mean scores slightly varied, there is no statistically significant difference was found between genders. indicating that perceptions were consistent regardless of gender. For example, in gender differences in the t-test, the highest mean between each section of poetry impact for female is 28.8068 and male is 26.7903 on section 1 of questionnaires, which highlights on vocabulary enhancement and understanding by reading poetry, especially with the highest mean on questionnaire number 1 that uh, I learned new words by reading poem. And next, perception based on field of study. Students from social sciences, science and technology, and business and administration all showed similarly positive responses toward using poetry to improve vocabulary. The results from One Way and Nova showed no significant difference across these academic fields, which is suggesting that field of study does not influence students' perception of poetry's effectiveness in vocabulary learning. And lastly, for the perception based on language proficiency, students with higher levels of English language proficiency tended to perceive poetry as more beneficial for vocabulary enhancement compared to those with lower proficiency. Although all proficiency levels showed positive perceptions, the difference was more noticeable in favor of intermediate and advanced learners, which is possibly due to their greater ability to engage with poetic language and infer meaning from context. Next findings, the overall mean score for the sample 150 was 3.99 with scores ranging from a minimum of 2.65 to a maximum of 5.00. This suggests that on average, respondents demonstrated a positive perception toward the use of poetry for vocabulary enhancement. For the reliability analysis, it highlighted a Chromebook alpha of 0.940 and 0.943 based on standardized items, indicating excellent internal consistency for the questionnaire. The analysis was based on 20 items, which is demonstrating that the instrument is highly reliable for measuring students' perceptions. Last but not least, the discussion and conclusion of this study. The findings of this study strongly align with previous research that emphasizes that a significant role of poetry in enhancing vocabulary and language proficiency. A majority of UiTM Shah Alam students responded positively, with most selecting agree on the Likert scale across all categories, which are vocabulary development and understanding, motivation and personal growth, and vocabulary application in communication skills. These findings are consistent with Tevenu and Katemba in 2021, who mentioned that poetry facilitates vocabulary learning and comprehension, and also Kilap et al. In 2021, who highlighted the emotional engagement with poetry that makes vocabulary development more meaningful. Mardayati and Riwayati Ningsih in 2022 also support this by asserting that poetry boosts learners' confidence in using new words thanks to its rich figurative language and structure. Furthermore, Sari and Aminatun in 2021 in their study emphasized the motivational power of poetry in language learning before reinforcing reinforcing the result that many students feel more confident and inspired when learning vocabulary through poetry. In terms of in terms of vocabulary application, our findings align with the study by Wajid and Sabar in 2023, who portrayed that poetry enhances expressive language skills by encouraging learners to use words creatively. The study shows that poetry is an effective and engaging tool for vocabulary enhancement among UIT and Shah Alam students. Most students agree that poetry helps them learn new words, apply vocabulary in communication, and boost their confidence and motivation. These findings suggest that poetry can be a valuable addition to English language teaching that's suitable for students across different fields of study and language proficiency levels. Based on these results, it is recommended that future research involve a larger and more diverse sample to strengthen the findings. A mixed methods approach that includes interviews or open-ended responses could also provide deeper insights into students' experiences. Finally, educators are encouraged to integrate poetry more actively into their teaching through reading, writing, and discussion activities to support vocabulary growth and overall language development. In conclusion, this study confirms that poetry is not only an effective linguistic tool but also a medium that fosters a deeper learning, confidence, and personal expression, which is making it as a valuable component in language education practices in the current era and in the future. And with that, my presentation has come to an end. This has been Muhammad Azizi bin Muhammad Noor bidding you Assalamualaikum, a good day, and thank you for lending me your ears.